Привет всем, с вами я, Janey, и это How Janey Learned Russian. We are in the exam period of our prepositional case unit. So this can kind of go on for several days because if you're in a college classroom, you're going to have the written test, you're going to have the listening comprehension, you're going to have the essay, you're going to have, I had students doing dialogues and they needed to know what every single word in their dialogue meant. And then we do an oral exam and then we do group oral exam. So yes, it's a very lengthy process, but it's a really good way for you to really see, okay, do I know Russian, doing Russian grammar? Did I really learn something this unit? And now can I pull it all together and do something with it? So today's exercise is going to be very similar to what you would get on a written exam in a college classroom. So it's going to be kind of a fill in the blank, and it's going to be drawing from nominative case and prepositional case. So every time we have this yucky grammar, is what I call it, it is like a to date. What have we talked about to date? And can you kind of recall everything you learned in previous chapters and keep it all straight as you go in and do these fill in the blank exercises. So we'll kind of do a warm up for it, and then we'll switch over to our document camera, and sure enough, we will do that page in the homework together. So again, hopefully you are feeling comfortable with what you've learned in prepositional case, and you will get the most out of these exams if you treat it like an actual college exam and you've been studying and you've been practicing those endings and you come to class ready to not have notes, not be using Google Translate, not be using ChatGPT, and just use your memory and fill in the blanks on this page in the workbook. So we're going to be doing that today, and I apologize. It's not going to be the most lively of the lessons, but I think it's going to be very informative. So again, yesterday we were talking about books, right? Russian boxing. And I think kind of the more popular sport where a lot more Russians are really well known. Specifically, my husband knows all about this and he invites friends over for UFC all the time. And that is the like UFC martial arts fighters. So борьба, right? And na Kafkazi, it's very popular in Dagestan, Chechnya, and their form of wrestling, this chidoaba, I don't even know how to say it. That's the Georgian version. This is a super ancient art form that they've been doing for centuries and centuries, long before UFC, long before jiu-jitsu became popular. This is a cultural thing that they did at various festivals and everything. So I was asking my husband about it, and he was talking about, what makes the Dagestanis so good. And he was saying it's similar to Brazil, where it's like, it's kind of your only chance to get out of there. And it's like the Brazilians have grit and the Dagestanis have grit that privileged, Americans maybe don't have, because it's like, again, this is your one chance to make a better life for yourself. And so, man, they fight like their life depends on it. So anyway, of course, my husband knew all these people and I can't remember them. He told me all these different gossip and stories behind everybody, but the only one I know here, very famous, is Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's from Dagestan. He's like just considered like a goat of sorts. So again, it's very fascinating that so much of this, like UFC, so much of the good stuff comes from southern Kafkas, Russia. So, by the way, that's the Kafkas. We talked about it, the mountain range. It's a very distinct culture. The Dagestanis and the Chechens are Muslim, and then Georgians are Orthodox. So, so look more into that if you're a big UFC fan. I'm not. I don't like blood, so I don't usually stay up and watch those, but my husband and all his jiu-jitsu buddies love to watch it. So, okay, here we go. So what we're going to do now, and as we learn more and more cases, we're going to practice thinking to ourselves, what case do I need to express this sentence? And you're going to get faster and faster and faster at this. So this may be painful at first, but you're going to get better and better at it. So I'm going to show you a sentence. And for those of you who are just listening, I'll read off a sentence. And the underlined phrase is the thing I will say loudly. And you're going to think, is the underlined phrase, is it nominative or is it prepositional? Okay, so here we go. Я читаю о финансах. Я читаю о финансах. So I'm not going to say it for you in English just yet, because that'll give it away to a certain degree. Okay, so we are seeing here prepositional prepositional because of the about. О финансах, prepositional plural. Okay? Next one. Мы на занятии. The занятий should be underlined here. Мы на занятии. Мы на занятии. So we're trying to say here, we are in class. We're in one of our college classes. And it's a na because it's an event. So you are seeing in front of you, you are seeing prepositional case. And remember, it's one of those ones that gets special treatment because the original ended in an «ie». So мы на занятии. Мы на занятии. There is nominative case in the sentence, but that wasn't, again, nothing's underlined here, but занятие is the thing I wanted us focusing on. Мы is a nominative case, but that's not what I had underlined. Okay, let's look at this sentence. У нас новый дом. У нас новый дом. Okay, so новый дом is underlined. Is that in nominative or prepositional? I don't see any in, on, at, or about. So there's no reason it would even need prepositional. And if we think back to nominative case, the thing you have in Russian gets nominative case. So this is nominative case. We have a new house, and you're not doing anything to that new house. It is just in your vicinity. It is near you, and that's why nothing's changing. We're just saying it's near you. Yeah. Okay. Next one. Oh, and I didn't underline again. Мы живем в новом доме. Мы живем в новом доме. Okay. So what do you think? Got some prepositional case there, yeah? Because we're saying in a new house. Мы живем в новом доме. Мы живем в новом доме. Окей, очень хорошо. Следующий. Я люблю гулять в лесу. Я люблю гулять в лесу. В лесу is underlined. Я люблю гулять в лесу. Okay, this is prepositional case. This is one of those irregular masculine prepositional case. В лесу, в снегу, в Крыму, во рту, на лбу, в глазу. There's a whole bunch of those irregulars, and those are all laid out for you in the textbook. Okay, next one. This one's tricky because this is an anti-Englishism. На каких языках вы говорите? На каких языках вы говорите? So if you were strictly to just translate this phrase into English, it might be tricky to know that на каких языках is prepositional case. But maybe you recognize that ach ending and you know without a doubt it's a prepositional ending. Or maybe you were paying attention the last month or so and you remember that this is just one of those fixed phrase anti-Englishisms that you just learn how to say. На каких языках? Prepositional case. Вот. Okay, хорошо. Okay, so I'm going to give you several different ones in this one. Наша бабушка часто говорит о жизни в Советском Союзе. Наша бабушка часто говорит о жизни в Советском Союзе. Okay, so our grandma often speaks about life in the Soviet Union. Okay, so here we go. Наша бабушка. Is that nominative or prepositional? That is nominative. She is the subject of the sentence. She is the one doing the verb. Okay? Говорит. Ha ha ha. Did you fall into my trap? Говорит is not getting a case. It's a verb. Verbs don't get cases, they get conjugations. So I hope you fell into my trap and you got a big, huge ouchie on your toe and you swear to yourself, never again. I'll never let her trick me ever again. Okay? Verbs do not get cases. They conjugate. Okay. Next one. Жизни. О жизни is the phrase here. О жизни. So, по-английски это about life. That is prepositional case. And remember, the original of жизни was жизнь with a мягкий знак on the end because feminines get E. They get E. We replace the мягкий знак with E. О жизни. And then the last phrase here is в Советском Союзе. В Советском Союзе. And hopefully you recognize that and ye endings. That's in the Soviet Union. That's masculine prepositional. So, вот такие дела. Okay, so this textbook we're going to be switching to here in just a second. That is available for purchase over on my Patreon page. The link is in the description. It's called Russian Cases Made Slightly Less Scary. And then you look at here, it says, Russian Cases Made Easy. Haha, no such thing. Wrong language if you want easy, right? Which is very painfully true. Also remember that we do have group classes going. You can sign up for those. That's the information is all about that over on Patreon. You go to the membership options and it's the $59 tier. So it's kind of all you can eat classes. All right, let's switch over to our textbook. And we are going to do this really painful, yucky grammar. But it is so useful. Like, again, don't be scared off of these drill type things. They have existed for centuries for a good reason, okay? And it's because they work. Yeah, that resolution is not my favorite, but we will try and make it work. Okay, so here we go. So as we go through these sentences, we need to solve for what's in the parentheses, right? So we need to, in Russian, it's called раскрыть скобки. Да, вот, I had like okay. So, whatever is in parentheses is what we need to put into whatever case the sentence needs. So we have to kind of look at the rest of the sentence and kind of figure out, okay, what's happening here? What are they trying to say? And what case do we need? Okay, so, американцы живут в... And then over here is the plural, большие дома. Remember, дом was an irregular plural. So big houses. Again, see how important it was to know nominative case? Because if you were taking this test and you just saw дома and you weren't paying any attention to the adjective, you might get confused and think you need to conjugate this into a feminine, not conjugation. Oh, see, I'm leading you astray. You might think you need to put the endings as like feminine endings because you weren't paying attention to the adjective. Always look at the adjective. Always look at the adjective. Okay, so американцы живут в больших домах. Okay, so if you had any sort of yeah on the end of that дома, you are wrong. It is a plural. And prepositional plurals always get ach or yach. Okay, next one. Okay, so we have about what did Pushkin write? Okay, and remember, words like who and what get cases. I know, it's so not fair. They don't go easy on you at all. So do you remember how does что go into prepositional case? So we know we need prepositional case because of the о, right? So о чем? О чем? And I really want you to put those dots on top because чем is a different case. So really show me that you know that this is the prepositional case because чем is instrumental case. So put those dots on top, it becomes чем. Okay, next one. The sentence in English would be, we are speaking about blank, and then in parentheses, our teacher. Okay, so we come over here and look at учитель. Well, that's got a мягкий знак, so that could confuse us. Thank goodness for this adjective right here. We know it's a masculine. Okay, so it's going to be мы говорим о нашем. And guess what? If on my test you put an о here, нашем, I wouldn't talk you. I'm not that big of a stickler because you can't hear it in spoken speech. So if you said нашем, that's fine. Нашем, and that is the 5-letter spelling rule. Just go back and review that if you feel confused. Учитель. Yeah. Okay. Masculines ending in мягкий знак get a yeah. Whereas feminines ending in мягкий знак get e. Okay. Keep that straight in your brain. Okay. Next one. What languages do you speak? Oh, I don't see an in, on, or about. So maybe I don't need to change it. No. Stop that English braining right now. Stop it. Stop English braining. Okay. What is that set phrase in Russian for asking somebody what language or what languages they speak? It sounds weird to our English brain, but we do it like this. На каких языках вы говорите? If you wanted to make a singular here, it would be на каком языке, right? Okay, хорошо. Next one. I'm trying to say we love to go out for a walk in this forest. Words like this and that get cases, okay? So I want you to be able to say, we love to walk in this forest, okay? Hopefully we were paying attention. Remember, les is one of our irregular prepositional endings. So let's just put that one there. Let's get that out of the way. Лесу, right? Now, этот, it's a masculine, you know? I'm just not so sure, but I do remember pretty much all masculine adjectives get an om ending. So you know what? I'm just going to take a wild guess and just put an om ending on it, just like the rest of the masculine adjectives. В этом лесу. And there you go. You got it. That's how you say it. В этом лесу. Мы любим гулять в этом лесу. Вот, все. Я ничего не знаю о blankety blank blank. And then in parentheses, твоя сестра. So I don't know anything about your sister. Possessive adjectives change, okay? So сестра is going to get a сестре. And then твоя, and by the way, we're going to see this again in dative case, in instrumental case, and genitive case. So get really comfortable with these feminine declensions here, feminine adjectives. Вот. О твоей сестре. Вот. And then this next one is, are you talking about me? And you can do it with a New Jersey accent. You talking about me? Yeah, you can like, hey, you. You can say it to yourself in a New York accent. But let's pretend you're living in Brighton Beach and you got to walk up to somebody and say, hey, you talking about me in Russian? And they're going to like freak out because they didn't know you spoke Russian. And then they're going to, feel really embarrassed. So, about, okay, and then remember this one is going to be мне. And then remember our about does something super wacko. It's left over from Old Russian. Обо мне. Вы говорите обо мне? So if you put о мне, I mean, there are probably some uneducated people in Russia that say it like that, but it's not quite correct. Okay, next one. Last week, мы были at a fun party, okay? So I put at here because I didn't want to feed you the correct answer, because this is one of those ones where I want you to know, is it a v or a na? And then last week, let's see if this is an anti-Englishism. So I want to see if you can figure it out, okay? So remember, our English brain thinks there's no in, on, or at when we say last week, but our Russian brain knows, because we've just memorized it, it is a na. На прошлой неделе. На прошлой неделе мы были, and then a вечеринка is a party, it's an event, a gathering of people. So we're going to say на веселой вечеринке. Вот так. Мы были на веселой вечеринке. Вот. Okay? Number 9. You were at home yesterday. Remember, our at home is just a wacky thing. It's just its own little thing. There's no prepositional case really happening in there. And I just put it in this chapter because it's one of those things you would think would need prepositional case, but it doesn't. And that phrase is дома. Все. Look at that. No preposition whatsoever. Ты был дома. Все. Дома. Не в дома, не на дома. No. Just ты был дома. Все. And then he's like, no, I was at work. So how do we say that? Я был на работе. Я был на работе. Okay. Next one. I want to say, this is super fancy. It was a very important moment in my life. So in parentheses, we have моя жизнь. Okay, that's good, because моя tells me that is a feminine. Thank goodness, because I forgot what gender жизнь was. Thank goodness for that beautiful моя to help me out. Okay, so моя, if твоя went to твоей, it's safe to assume Maya is going to do a similar thing, right? So we're going to go в моей, and then we remember that feminine mягкий знак get a I. Жизни. В моей жизни. Okay, next, in English, because we are not very grammatical in our language anymore, we just say, what year were you born? But it would be more proper to say, in what year? In which year were you born? Okay, so ask somebody what year they were born. We're going to go, в каком, and then hopefully you remember that год gets an irregular U ending. В каком году? Все. В каком году вы родились? Because if you were to just say какой год, it would mean like the duration of a year. It took you a year to be born. So yeah, it can change the meaning if you don't use the correct case and you don't use the correct preposition. Okay, next one. He studies in first class. So if we remember back to the chart that was in the textbook, and we didn't talk about it too much in the videos, but when it's K through 12, they are в классе. When it is college classes, it's на первом году, на втором году, на третьем, на четвертом, на пятом, например. So он учится в первом классе. Вот так. Он учится в первом классе. Class means grade in Russian, and it can also mean like, whoa, cool as well. Okay, and then last one. We were in Russia even though in English we wouldn't use the v. I helped you out here. In English, we'd just say last month. So we want to say we were in Russia last month. Okay, so here we go. Россия. We're remembering that iya gets special treatment on the end. So мы были в России. And then we're going to say в last month. In last month. So we go в прошлом месяце. Вот так. Вот так и все. Молодцы. Okay, so if that was painful for you, totally understandable, right? These students always really struggle with that section of the exam. And I just recommend just do it over and over again as many times as you need to until like you really feel like you've got it down. Again, no shame. This is the reality of being an adult learner, is like your brain is just trying to keep a roof over your head. It's really not focused on prepositional case endings. It's got some other things to worry about. So no shame in repeating this whole unit as many times as you need to come to this and just be like, bam, 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 bam. Okay? So anyway, хорошо. Это все на сегодня. I hope that everybody, again, don't be discouraged by that. Do it as many times as you need to. Review the chapter and then go back to it, correct your work, and then do it again. Print out the blank page from the textbook or pause the screen and just do a listening version of it. Again, listen to this video as many times as you can. But I would say that fill in the blank is, if you can do those and get your endings right, that's extremely impressive, because written form is quite tricky, right? To make sure you're getting the spelling right and so on and so forth. So, хорошо. Это все на сегодня. Tomorrow we have our бедняжка is back, our student who's really struggling with Russian, and we're going to help him. We're going to correct his grammar because we learned so much from today. We're feeling good. We're going to help him with some of his mistakes that he's making. So, хорошо. Увидимся на следующем уроке. Пока-пока.